Alright, I think it's time to move along with this project and pull these rocker covers off, probably just pull the heads off and see what's going on. What am I thinking here? Looks like the exhaust is going to have to come off. Already some of the bolts are off. I already had these covers off once when I first got it just to take a look, and I don't know what I did with the push rods. The one that was in this can is actually straight, so I don't know. Maybe I left them in there. Let's see. Alright, I can see there is a push rod in the one side there, and there is not one on that side. So is that it? I don't know. Let's pull the other cover off here. Okay. Alright, so, oh boy, there's no push rods in this side at all, so, uh-oh, what do I do with them? Alright, well, I thought maybe I left them sitting up in this groove up here, but they don't seem to exist. Let's get this air filter assembly off, make some more room in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow. Guess it needs these inside ones too, is it? Okay, got them all. There's another tray on the bottom. Take that off. Now I can see not sure if you can see this, but if I lift this rocker, can you see that there's only one keeper on that valve? I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be one on both sides of the valve there, my fingertip. And I only see one. So I'm going to pull these heads off, and with any luck, the pistons are in good shape. Maybe this engine is blowing. Find out soon. There's lots of stuff has to come off to get these heads off. Holy. Okay, there's washers under there. I can see it down there. There's a brand new sump pump in the box, but there's one down in there already. I wonder if maybe it doesn't work. I have a feeling this engine's coming out. I just don't want to. Because why wouldn't the mechanic just say, "Oh, no problem. We can fix this engine from the top here." Instead, he told them, "No, engine's blown." I'm hoping they just didn't want to get involved with it and just said, "Get it out of here, it's blown." Okay, so the exhaust nuts are coming off pretty easily. That's a good thing. How many hours are on this thing? 600 hours on the meter. Is that a lot? I don't know. Okay, are there washers? There are. Didn't have anything like this when I worked at Argo back in 1982. The way I remember it, there was a little single cylinder, was it a Tecumseh maybe? Yeah, I think it was a single cylinder Tecumseh in the little Argos they built back then. I didn't spend a lot of time on the Argo side of the wall. My job was on the Ontario driving gear side, on the other side where we built gears and assembled the transmissions for these things. I assembled maybe 5 or 6 of them. I was being trained by the master, the transmission guy. I was going to take over and be the only one that assembles transmissions for the rest of my career, which means I would still be assembling them today if it wasn't for the recession of 1982. They tried to keep me in there as long as I could, but that was a bad one, and I had no seniority at all. I had just started right out of high school the year before, and that was it for me. Gone from Argo, never to be called back, but hey, I soldiered on, and now look, I still dig these things. I didn't take it personally. I'm not bitter. A little bit. I think they were just coming out with hydraulic brake systems when I got laid off. And I thought, well, now there's a neat thing. Look at those stubby little handlebars. I wonder how that's going to work out. I can't wait to... And then all of a sudden, pink slip. Now here we are in 2022, apparently facing another recession. With any luck, I'm recession proof. It's funny how I start my work life fresh out of high school right into a recession, a major one. And now I'm kind of winding down my work life right into another one. All right, so the exhaust manifold is bolted to the exhaust pipe with these old rusty bolts. I'm not giving them a lot of hope in coming off without some serious heat. So I'm going to get my torches rolling here. I got to be super careful I don't set this thing on fire. I got a super deal on an old Argo one time. It was one of the very first ones. It was actually made of fiberglass. The whole Argo is made of fiberglass. Hood scoop, floor plans, everything. So 1967, 1968 maybe. And it was completely burned up. It wasn't worth saving for anything other than some engine parts and this and that. Okay, this isn't going to be a walk in the park. How do people do this? Look, I'm trying to complain less these days, but this is just hard. I'm going to start complaining more. There it goes. Oh, something just dropped. Ow, that hurt a lot. Okay, 12 millimeter maybe. You got it. So linkage out of the way. Yeah, I need to remove the governor lever. Of course it's 10 millimeters. There it goes. Yeah, man. Okay. Okay, here we go. Whole thing's away. Okay, the other camera died, so we'll finish off with this one. It'll probably die shortly too. Intake's almost off. Now, I see that rear head has a lot to do with the cooling system, so I'm going to have to be draining that soon. What I've discovered is, it's kind of funny, my reflex is to jump underneath this thing and loosen off the petcock for the radiator. Of course you can't jump underneath it. It's got a hull. But this red hose here runs hot water off to a heater core, which then blows cabin heat. So this bottom hose, I'm going to disconnect it here. I'm going to get a pan down in underneath here, some kind of pan. I might have to make one out of a jug. And I'm just going to loosen off the hose clamp and dump it out of there. That's what I'm doing. So go ahead, camera, die. What am I on? 1%, that's great. I was able to pull this hose off, and I have a jug down here cut so that everything emptied into that jug. There it goes. Gaskets are tearing to shreds, so I'll make new ones, obviously. There we go. Intake off. I can take the rest of the cooling system off now and get these heads off. I'll do this one first, obviously, because it's easiest. All right, I put this camera on a power supply, so hopefully this works. Hopefully it films and charges at the same time. Because I don't want to take a break yet. Looks good. Keep pulling. There it goes. Well, there's no hole in that piston. That's in good shape. And the cylinder head, also in good shape. It's definitely a valve guide missing on that. So, is that valve bent? So I know it's maybe a little too early. I should just take off these springs first, but I'm just dying to know about this guide in there. Oh. Okay, I just took the keeper off the rocker shaft and just pulled the rockers off. So now you can plainly see half the keeper missing. Let's pull that valve out. Okay. Just popped it. Let's knock out that keeper. Maybe I gotta go further. Damn it. There it goes. That's supposed to be on both sides. Okay. Look at that. The valve won't move. It is stuck. What if we give it a little tap? Okay, now it's moving. Okay, and give it a wiggle. Holy. Oops. Okay, valve is out. Doesn't appear bent. I wouldn't say it's wobbling at all. So why is it so tight in the guide? I'm going to pull the other one off and see if I can see a difference in where that guide sits. That one's moving nice. I don't see anything down in the bore of the valve guide, but it is definitely tight. What? Why is it? Oh, I got it in the wrong one. This one. What? Now it's working. How is that moving now? All right. So it's working now. I don't understand. I had to tap it out with a hammer, but now that there's no slop, it's working. What is going on here? I might just be lapping these valves and putting it back together. New gaskets. I can spin it in its bore. It's not sticking or binding. Explain that. So what I'll do is I'll get new springs and keepers. One thing that really bothers me is I don't know where that keeper is. I bet you it's down in the motor. So maybe I can get lucky and there's like a drain hole for the oil and I can run my magnet all in there. Maybe the drain plug is a magnet and it'll be stuck to it. That would be fantastic. Now, do I pull the other side too? Do I pull the other head? So you can see this valve's working fine. There's no push rods on this side. I think I took them out. I think one was bent and one was straight. This side here, I can act as if I'm a push rod and push down on this valve and it opens. But this one, it's stuck. Nope, it's not moving. So that's a problem on that side. Both keepers are in place. So this is where I take a break. So after a night of humming and hawing about this thing, I'm kind of coming to a new conclusion. Just the way that valve freed itself up. Once I tapped it out of its guide and then put it back in, it was working properly. And I'm just thinking, I think I was probably right about this engine overheating, but I think I'm wrong about the guide slipping out of the head. I think it overheated to a point that the valve stuck in their guides just from expansion. And then that was it. They're stuck. It's not like they just sort of come apart as they cool and they're all good to go again. I think the metals kind of form to each other and stick, but I think they can be broken free. So I'm gonna try tapping. Like I know this one doesn't work, so I'm just gonna tap on this valve. I'm gonna put a piece of aluminum against the valve itself. I'm not gonna hit the spring. Okay. Oversized chunk of aluminum, oversized hammer. Let's just tap a little bit. Okay, it's going down. Now let's see if I can pull it back up with something. So if I use this and just pry on it, would that work? I think as I tapped it down, it just got stucker. I'm pretty sure I'm pulling this head off. I think bad things are happening. I think that valve might actually maybe be bent. Oh, look at this. I just found a wire that's broken. So if the same thing happens on this side as this side, and I can get that valve freed up, the total cost, I mean, with shipping and everything, this is going to be under $100. So that's pretty good compared to a blown engine. Oh, it turned. And it's turning right out of the cylinder head. Perfect. Okay, that's out. And the bracket is also out. Okay, one more. Nope, it's fine. Woo, that cylinder is fine too. Oh yeah, that looks just dandy. Take out the head gasket that's sitting there and head to the bench. All right, so that's what the cylinder head looked like on the front cylinder. Yeah, it's pretty black. This is the rear cylinder. It's a little more carbony. Let's see if we could tap that valve back. I use this bone hammer. There it goes. Okay, it just slipped back in. I'm gonna get this rocker shaft out. I need glasses. Oh God, I thought it went flying. I'm gonna do this over here and put my finger over it. There we go. And it clipped right at the end, so it probably would have gone flying. All right, now we can just pull that rocker shaft right on out of there. I'll leave that rocker on. Take that one away. Crank it down. Pop those keepers out of there. They're $4 a piece. I know, because I'm going to have to order a new one for the one that's missing. All right, let's loosen that up. Take the spring off. I'm getting new springs too. Okay. It's gone. All right, I'm going to give it a little tap on the valve. Okay, there was a washer somewhere. I suspect it came out of that stud. I'm pretty sure there was one on the other cylinder. I remember it now from yesterday. Saying, oh look, that's got a washer, how come the others don't? Well, they just don't. So I'm going to put this right now on the stud so I don't forget. All right, never checked. Yep, the valve moved. It's not liking it though. Maybe I should try popping it out of there. I think I can just wrangle that out of there. It's turning. That's a good sign. Probably means it's not bent. I'll take it out and clean it up. This is how the other one came out too, really stiff. There is a lot of deposits on it, kind of like a film of rust and grunge. Where'd my brake clean go? I think I put it away. I should never put things away. Let's just see if I can just wipe it clean. I don't see any damage to it. No scratches, no gouges. Good. Let's just see if it'll work its way back in here. Look at that. Oh, hey, just like that I can move it by hand. It's fixed. Nice. Well, that makes me pleased. It's getting even, oh, as I do it, it's not looking to just fall out on its own basically now. It's getting looser and looser as I go. Beautiful. There's my problem. Let's get the parts and put it back together. Oh, I just remembered. The place I found online for all these parts from a Canadian distributor don't have valve springs. So I do have a message into the Argo dealer that's closest to me, like an hour away. And I'm going to see if they stock valve springs for these things. If they don't, I'm putting the old ones back in. I'm going to put a new thermostat in it. Look, I'm busy doing mechanic stuff.
You tell me.
Yeah.
Well, tell me to shut up then.
Shut up. Oh yeah, that's open. You can see right through there. I'd point at it, but then I'd scold myself. Honey, can you point at it?
Honestly.
Okay, can you turn the oven off? My hands are full of different things.
Well, the oven's not on, so I can't turn the oven off.
Listen, you know, I
you
don't know
with
what this thing is. Yeah, I'm done with that. I'll let that cool. So it's opened and now it's closed, so it works. I'm not spending 54 bucks on something I don't need. I'll save this gasket in case I need to reuse it, but I'll probably make a new one. I'll clean out as much gunk off this as I can. Hot rod. This is just an initial cleaning. I'll make them shine later. Next. Well, I gotta say that's pretty good news. So long as nothing's wrecked in the bottom end. I mean, how did it get this hot to jam valves? And both of them on the same, like on each side, one on each side. You would think one would go and seize up the engine, right? But maybe, I wonder if maybe the valve stuck open and Buddy kept running it, you know, on one cylinder, trying to get home kind of thing, just revving it. And eventually the other one hung up too, and that was the end of his day. Maybe something like that happened. But it doesn't really matter, because it looks like the engine survived the ordeal. Now, will this Varsol dry out the valve seals? What I'll do is I'll go blow dry them, and then I'll shoot them with a WD-40 right away. Blow these off with compressed air. So yeah, it's not going to be real pleasant cleaning out those, cleaning off all this gasket material with an engine down in there and an open water jacket and cylinder. Oh, it looks like these, wow, that looks like it's on an angle. I wonder if they come out, the guides. I'm just going to give it a little tap from the back here, from behind. Oh, it definitely does come out. So I'll get those cleaned up. So I would have thought they press in there pretty hard, and they probably do. So, oh, you know what? This one's not even in it. This one's got two. This one only has one, but it's only supposed to have one because I don't see any. Oh, maybe. Yeah, no, there's no way another one could go in over here. Oh, it could. And maybe the shop gave him a price to tear this apart, and he didn't like it and said, nah, I'll just sell it as engine work needed. Maybe. I mean, I could just call him and ask him, but no, I don't like bugging people after I buy stuff from them. I have a black and white striped wire here with a terminal that wasn't on anything. This big terminal was on a head bolt. That's the main ground. And then I got a yellow wire down there that just ends. It might look like it goes to that bolt or that nut or that stud, but it doesn't. It's just hanging down there, broke off. So bet you anything that's supposed to be doing something for the relay. Definitely while the heads are off and I can get my hands down in there, I'll work out the wiring. I might need a shop manual for this. Yeah, you can see where I spilled some antifreeze down into the hull, so I'll get that drained out another time. But yeah, piston's in good shape. Both sides, I've decided they're fine. And there, way down in the bottom, is that sump pump. So maybe I'll test that too while I can get my arms in there and replace it if I need to. I'll get these chains oiled up. Kind of funny how they have to notch the frame like that for that axle. It just strikes me that all the strength would be gone in that frame. But I'm not the Argo engineer. I'm just the guy that got laid off from Argo when he just started at 18 years old. Not bitter, not bitter. Oh, better get my magnet back out of there. Nothing but crud on it. So I think we're doing all right. It seems to me like we just need to order some parts and put this back together. I think I maybe got lucky here. I'm not going to tear into anything else. I'm going to get a thermostat. I'll get new springs. Well, maybe if I can find some. Going to get the new push rods and all the different bits. Get a new thermostat just in case that's what caused the problem. What if the thermostat was stuck and it overheated? It might have been low on oil, might have been low on antifreeze, who knows, but we're going to top everything back up, torque everything down, new spark plugs, change the oil, maybe that, and change the filter. It's right there, you can see it. Since I have 20 of them, I might as well use one, right? I do have a spare fan belt, but that one looks to be in good shape. Yeah, that one looks fine, so I'll leave it alone. So I think this is going to come out good. As long as I don't screw something up putting it back together. Snap a head bolt or something. Alright, so another day is going to happen right now. Okay, a couple of things I've been thinking about. First thing is I'm almost due for my annual haircut, so the bandana has to be back in effect for a little while. The other thing is, I got thinking about these valves sticking, and both of them were exhaust valves. And I did a little research, and of course everybody's got a video up on how to free them up. You don't have to take the heads off, you don't have to do anything, just spray your spray your WD-40 or something in there and tap them back and forth, and all of a sudden it'll free up. And I got thinking, well, yeah, but what stuck it in the first place? Isn't the same thing just going to happen? So I don't think just leaving it at that is good enough. I think the heads have to come off and the valves have to come out and figure out why. Now, I think the mystery was resolved when I found a YouTube clip on an aviation channel, and he was talking about valves in an aviation on an aircraft engine sticking, and it had something to do with people putting additives in their fuel, and if the engine isn't running hot enough, those additives will congeal onto the valve stem when it's open, so the exhaust gases are going out, runs on by the valve stem, little bits of it sticks to it, it closes again, does the same thing over and over again. Eventually it's just going to stick and it's not going to open anymore. Your push rod's going to bend. That's the weak link in the whole deal. So I got to looking at my valves and I realized, well, I don't think I have deposits from the fuel. Like mine looks like carbon. Now the fella on the aircraft channel said it's not carbon, it's not an issue with carbon, but I think in this case it is. I think this valve, at least on this one, I don't think it's been closing. It hasn't been sealing well, so I think this thing's probably been running like crap for a long time. I'm going to put the valve to the wire wheel and clean off all of this carbon deposit around it, but you can even see it up on the stem. Like, sure, these are very close tolerances for the valve stem inside the guide. And you just put a coating of carbon, or if it's some residue from fuel additives or some, or maybe it's just the fuel we're burning these days, has built up. Now, I would have, maybe I should have, oh, I know, I tried to get new valves and the place that I was on online didn't have any. So I thought, well, I'm going to clean these up and just see if I can make them work again. This thing's not going to get any heavy duty use. It's not like for business or anything, it's just for fun. And it took 600 hours for it to get to this state. So I'm thinking that's going to be another 10 years worth at least, maybe 20 years. So this, if I can get these valves to work again and get all this wire wheeled off, then maybe we're good. But maybe this valve is burned. Once I get all the carbon off it, I'll find out right now. Alright, I've cleaned up this valve pretty good, and it looked pretty bad when it was carboned up, but now that it's clean, I see it's got a nice smooth face on it. There's no grooves in it. All the carbon buildup on the stem itself is gone. There's no little, I can't hook my nail on it like I could before. It was actually really bad. It was built up bad. So I'm going to guess that it was stuck in its guide just from the carbon buildup. Let's take a look at the other one. Alright, so here's the exhaust valve from the other side. And it's not as bad, but there's definitely a buildup. I can feel it with my nail. So I think eventually it tapered itself up inside the guide as it closed. And that was the end of that. Yeah, this one's not nearly as bad as the other one, but I'm going to clean it up real good. And I'm going to put them back in and I'm going to use them. Parts are on their way, but I got to prep for them. I'm going to get all the old gasket material off these parts. Alright, I got both valves looking really good now. I've got some lapping compound here. I'm going to, I'll do a rookie valve job on it with the lapping compound. Guess I should clean up all the valves. Even the intakes are pretty rough. Nothing goes to waste around here. Oh, music. Are you kidding me? This is not even soft rubber. It's like, where's this made? Well, you kind of know where it was made. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I'm trying to loosen it up. It's like almost like plastic instead of rubber. Until I see if I can spin it. No, I can't. Oh, I knew I bought a piece of garbage again. It's just not sticking to the valve. Would you please start making this stuff and the bit on the end stays still and the handle turns. It's like, could we come up with a worst possible invention here, people? Like, oh my God. I don't even know. So, what am I supposed to do about that? Huh? I'm going to spin it by hand. I just get ripped off every single time I buy something new. Look at the size of this. Look at all the stuff I have in this shop. None of it is modern. None of it's new. It's all ancient from auctions and stuff growing up. And it's all good stuff. I go to the store and buy something new. Garbage. It's not even useful for one single time. Whoa! Holy. So I put a little bit of that valve grinding compound on the face of the valve. And this, oh yeah, I can hear it. It's pretty rough. Now, obviously, just turning it by hand isn't going to do it, so. Really? Oh, I would love to just do a full valve job on it, send it into a machine shop and stuff. But I'll do that in the next 600 hours on this engine. You know, when it comes apart again. Okay, that one's good. One more. It's a budget fix here, so I'm going to just put it back in the vise and scrape off all the gasket material off all the different faces. Where are you even? I'll have to probably make a couple of gaskets. I forget what all's coming in the mail, but it should be here in a couple of days. So I'll be ready for it with some nice clean prepped heads to go back on and see what happens. I knew that was going to happen. Oh. Okay, this is a real fine tooth file. Just going to run across nice and light. You see, there's a few burrs here and there that's just going to grab and cut off. I'm not machining the head or anything like that. Don't want to go crazy on it. Okay, I've decided that's fine. Next. Just cleaning a little bit of carbon deposits off the valve seats. Probably could have just left it alone, but I'm not good at leaving stuff alone. A little bit of tranny fluid. Feels okay. Alright, I'm going to be washing these out again in the tank, but there's other gaskets to get to here. Okay, exhaust port. I think I got exhaust gaskets coming. I think it was the intakes they didn't have, and I'll just make those. If not, I've got exhaust gasket material too. I'll just make them. Good. Hey, check it out. It snowed. Maybe we can try plowing the driveway today. Oh. Oh. No. Not today. Let's go play with the Argo instead. Woohoo! Parts came in. The box is so light I didn't even think anything was in it. But let's crack it open and see what we have. Alright. Shipping slip, whatever it's called. most important things, my head gaskets are in. I thought something didn't look right, but then it did. 1 push rod, 2 push rods, perfect. Intake gaskets, nice. And a thermostat gasket. I guess I have to make exhaust gaskets. For a minute there I thought that's what that was, but no, that's for the thermostat. Oh my, one single little keeper. One single little valve keeper. I think that was $4. But yeah, that was missing, so now it's not. Okay, that's everything. Okay, and I changed my mind. I'm going to put my feeler gauges on this. I got reading the little engine manual there, and the flatness of the head, the warpage of the head cannot exceed 2 thou. So I'm going to put a straight edge across it, check it with 2 thou. If there's a problem, well, there's a problem. I'm not doing anything about it. We'll slap it back together and run it. Okay, try this. Oh, there is no problem. 0 warpage. Alright. There's no warpage. Alright, I don't want to check too much or I might find a problem, so let's just go with what I've done. It's all good. I'm going to get my high tack. I always spray these gaskets with high tack. Not for any knowledgeable reason, not that I've learned over the course of rebuilding multiple engines, which I've never even rebuilt one. But I still use high tack on any gasket I put on. I was going to even high tack the head gasket, but because a guy I talked to one time says that's what he does, and therefore, yeah, I figured that's a reason enough for me to do it. But I saw somewhere that it says, like, this is a genuine Kawasaki part, that there's actually some kind of film on the head gasket already, so it's not just bare metal. So I'm just going to wing it and not spray my head gaskets. Leave them alone. Alright, high tack. Only one way, just like that. It does matter which way this goes. I'd imagine up, right? I kind of lied. I kind of did rebuild one motor, well, a top of an engine. I took apart my 900 Arctic Cat engine when I think a spark plug came apart inside a cylinder and tore it all up, so I had to change the piston, new head, and a new cylinder. Anyway, I put it all back together again, torqued everything up, and man, did it go then. It was super fast. So, and it held together under my abuse. So, figured I did something right. So let's just do it again here with like a fraction of the horsepower. I think that Arctic Cat was pushing 100 horsepower, and this is 20. So I'm ready with the anti-seize for the bolts. I got my high tack. Give it a little pinch on the outside. Ready to go. Maybe wait till it gets a little tacky first. There it goes. I feel it awfully tacky now. Oh, was there a torque value for this? I bet you. How about tight? Making sure I'm not caught up on anything because it doesn't really feel right. Let's take a look. Oh, there's a gap. I don't like that. I wonder if I'm up on that little, maybe the, I'm going to take a look underneath it again. I'm a little nervous about this. No, it's sitting flat now. Maybe seems to wobble a little. Oh, good thing I did that. I have to show you. So it's a good thing I didn't crank that down because I didn't notice, but just ever so barely the thermostat was sitting up out of its lip. Probably when I messed with that gasket when I first sprayed it and took it off again, I bet you it pulled it over a little bit. So let's put it right back in there and zoom you back. And this has the gasket stuck to it already, so we're all good to go. And now let's see if it sits a little bit nicer. Oh yeah, now she's sitting flat. Alright, whew. That would have just been, well, it might have cracked the housing if I had torqued it down. Let's See no gap this time. Alright, I'm back. I printed out a whole bunch of stuff. I couldn't find a torque spec for the thermostat, so I'm going to go with this many. And exactly the same on this side. That many. Looks good to me. Oops. I think that one's ready to go back on. Reassembly. I'm gonna use a little tranny fluid. There's an old boy that worked at Mr. Transmission when I was a kid that I would clean transmission cases for him sometimes for a few extra bucks. He said, put transmission fluid on everything. And I said, okay. Alright, I know some people do this just by hand, but I have the tool, I might as well use it. That's great. Give it a little twist to hold it there, and we're good. Don't worry, all that cracking sound is the wood, not the aluminum. Crank it down. Okay, so I got the spring a little cockeyed, so it wants to go that way, so I'll put this one in first on this side by tilting it that way and letting it drop in there. That's probably far enough. Uh-oh, I lost the other one. Oh, there it is. Found it. Oh yeah, they don't go very far down in there, so I got this cranked way too tight. I didn't need the spring to be... Yay! As soon as I touched it, calamity ensued. Just pick that one out again. Plump that in. There. The skinny side down. Just hold them there for a minute, Sean. You can see they're together. Let's loosen this off. Okay. Take that out of there. That's it. That feels great. Next. 1 and 2. Get in there, you. Crank it down just a little bit further. There it goes. Like I barely touched it, it popped in. Let it out. And we're good. Well, I like that. Let's put the rocker shaft back together. A little tranny fluid. Give it a little twist. Make sure you don't bind it up. Just smack it with a hammer. No. Alright. A little C-clip on that end to hold them on. See how far I can make this fly when I screw it up. How about that? First try. About click. Okay, I got it not quite on there. The two ends are on, but the middle isn't. So I got to expand it a little bit and push it on. There it goes. Alright, I'm going to pop this one out of the vise. Stick the other one in, put the valves back in the same way. You don't need to see this twice. You're on pause. Okay, so both heads are done. Ready to go back on. Okay, we're at the point. Install the head bolts, noting the position of A, which is a thing. I've got them set out in order that I took them out, so I'll put them back in the same place. Install the head bolts, noting position A, and tighten them temporarily. Then install your intake manifold onto the cylinder heads. Oh god, then there's a note about that someplace. Well, why can't they just tell me right here? Why do I go running off to a different spot for the manifold? I know there, oh, you know what? I do remember seeing it. There's a torque pattern for the manifold, and I don't think it's in this section. I'm going to have to run back in and find it. Alright, I'm back with the right sheet for the intake manifold torque specs. Let's go over to the machine. Woohoo! Getting exciting. I've already scraped the cylinder, the head surface clean. I noticed when I was editing a little bit of the earlier stuff that when this piston was down, it looked like there was a gouge on the cylinder, but I guarantee you there was not a gouge. We're all good. Oh, I know what I was going to do. While these heads are off, I need to figure out what this yellow wire is. So I'm going to put you on pause and go research that. I'm going to have to find a wiring diagram for a 1997 Argo Conquest. Alright, I got my wiring diagram printed out and I followed that yellow wire and I'm still not really sure what it is. I mean, it shows yellow has to do with the oil pressure light, which is working, and the hour meter, which I guess I'll find out when I run the thing, but yeah, the oil pressure light worked. But that's not going to stop me from putting the cylinder heads on. I just want to, before I do that, so that if I need to get to the starter, it'll be a lot easier if I just quick bump the starter to make sure it works. So I discovered a thing. I see work has been done on this. For some reason, the ground strap, the old one, has been cut off. This is where it's supposed to mount. And a new one, right here, was bolted right to a head bolt. So I don't know if that means this thing has been apart before, like to this extent, or if somebody, I mean, that head bolt would have had to come off to attach it, but why wouldn't a person just pull that bolt, the proper mounting bolt, take the old piece off there, and put the new ground strap where it's supposed to go? I don't know, but that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so that's no good. Let's get the other ground strap in place here. Ow, that's my arm. Okay, bring it up from the bottom, turn it around. Okay, let's just go give that key a quick bump and see if that starter works at all. Oh yeah, that moves. Alright, enough of that. I can hear the blower motor too is on. And the oil light's on now too, so that's good to see. So the oil light works. If I don't get oil pressure right away, then I'll shut her down. But yeah, she kicks over. Let's put these things back on. I want to tap in the little guides first. I have them, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't matter which hole these go in, but I'm going to put them in the same hole they came out just in case. So I'll tap them in. You can hear them bottom out. They seat themselves when they're all the way in. Well, that's interesting. For some reason I had it in my head that these exhaust valves are the ones that bent, but it was the intake valves. So is it possible it's just the fuel we're burning these days? It's going in raw through the intake valve and forming a sludge on the stem. When that valve's open, then the valve closes again and sort of sucks it up into the guide, and eventually it just got too stiff or too gummy in there. But why two of them? Why two? Why one on each cylinder? Both intake valves were bent. Gasket in place. Okay. Might have to give it a bit of a tap, but ever so gently. Lost my hammer. There, that just dropped it in. Oh yeah. Oh, I see why they moved that ground. Why they moved that ground wire. It would be murder to get down in there with a wrench. So someone's just cut it off, mounted it in a different place, just a really bad place. I would have mounted it up here on the rocker cover rather than a head bolt. But that's just me. Now, here's a thing I didn't think about. I didn't put the push rods in their spot. Oh, but I know. Just move the valves, put them in. Okay. Push this one down and drop it in its spot. I missed. There we go. Alright, so it says to tighten these, but not to torque them, because the intake manifold is going to go on first and sort itself out. Just give them a little snug. Okay, so the way I figure it, that's snug. I think that's what they mean. Alright, it'd be a little easier to do this side because I can actually see. Slide them through. Oh my god, I forgot the head gasket. Okay, let's put that in the right spot. Make sure these guys are still in their lifters. Alright. There it goes. Just slide it in by hand, just like that. Okay, they're all snug, I think. Time to put the manifold on. Okay, I'll do a proper adjustment later. Just want to make sure they don't fall out again, so they're all pretty loose where they were, so yeah, I guess I have to put the intake on first and then torque them, and then I can adjust the valves. I'll adjust them cold. I can't remember. I think they need to be adjusted hot. So, I mean, I'll do an initial adjustment when they're cold. Alright, I'm going to have to make a gasket for the carburetor because I didn't even think... Well, no, I think I did look it up and they didn't have that in stock. Alright, I decided you need to see this, but yeah, this gasket is actually coming off in one piece, so it'll be easy to trace that and make a new one. Think it got under there? Wow. That is fragile. Whoop, just broke a piece off. Not sure where it went, but if it went in the manifold, then I'm washing it anyway. Definitely got enough there to make a new one. I've decided this is going to work. I have a bunch of thicker stuff in there, but looking at this old one, it's pretty thin. Next time I do work, I'm never using these little cloths to lay stuff on, because every time you pick something up, somehow you grab the little cloth too. I don't even know why. Okay, let's trace this out. I'll trace it. See? I don't even need them anymore. Okay, so there's the outside cut. Get my little hole punch. Alright, so the biggest one I have is actually a little small. Alright, how do we take this out? We unscrew this thing, which then drops this little lever out of there. And then you can move, oops, oh, that's just a insert piece. Then you can take the little punch out and put a different one in. Okay. Now, it's a little tricky. You gotta work everything so that it grabs those little teeth in the punch part. It holds it in place, so let's just do that, and it did it. How about that? Alright, let's put this bolt back in place. And you just spin it in. It's a kept bolt. You can keep turning all day long. The threads kind of run out on the other side. So it just is stuck in there. And, oh, I gotta change the bottom too. Slide that on in there till it comes up over the edge of the bottom. There we go. That's again, man. I know you can't see, but oh well. Okay, that's as big as I've got. Alright, I'm just gonna notch this out. A little bit oversized from the line. Okay, should come out of there okay. Let's clean this thing up. I see it is raised a little bit around just the inside edge to grab the gasket. Okay, same thing on this side. Okay, that side was worse, but it's good now. Where's my file? It's not real flat right there. See if you can see the reflection of the light here. There's a little bit of a dark spot right there. So I'm trying to work that out. There we go. Alright. Into the bath. Okay, all cleaned up. Looks pretty good. Time to put it on. Oh, it already is, so we can set that in place and it should stay. I don't know. There we go. Fine, let's try it. Okay. So after wandering around all over the place looking for my manifold installation sheet, I suddenly found it. Oh yeah, now I remember where I put it. Alright, do this and do that. And then do the other thing. Before assembling the manifold... Oh, before assembling the manifold, install the cylinder heads on each cylinder and tighten the head bolts into specified sequence temporarily. Place a new gasket in each mating surface and install the manifold. Follow the sequence shown. Tighten the mounting bolts 35 inch-pounds. Tighten the bolts in sequence 26 inch-pounds at a time until the torque on each bolt is 52 inch-pounds. Note the position of the different lengths of bolts. Yeah. Then tighten the cylinder head bolts to the specified torque. Alright, I'm doing it fine. So let's fire them up at 35 inch-pounds first. We got Newton meters too, but that sounds funny, so I'm going with inch-pounds. 35. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I didn't even tighten in. And then 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, gotcha. Okay, head bolts, we got to do up to 115 foot-pounds first. 115 inch-pounds. Click. Okay. Okay. Okay, then up 27 on that is 132. 115 and 27. 20 would be 135. So 142. 142. Go around them again. Okay, up to 186, and that's final. Everything is torqued down. I can set these valves up now. Okay, 10 mils. No, it's going to be 9. Alright, I forget the valve lash. Damn it. Okay, valve lash is 10 thou. Let's get some light on the subject here. 10 thou. Oh, they make it like a brass. Maybe because it's a common one. So it's different, it's brass. Alright, 9mm wrench. Let's just tighten it down by hand until it starts. Oops. Now what? There it goes. Just screw it in my hand, make sure the lock nut isn't bottoming out. There we go. Feels pretty good. Put a little tension on it there. A little too much maybe. Feels alright. Let's tighten down that lock nut. Okay, snug that up. Still feels alright. Oh yeah, that feels good. Much better than this one. Okay. I think that's got, oh, the lock nut was down. Let's turn it some more. Oh, that's good. Maybe a little too snug. Let's tighten it up and check it. Which won't fit on. Okay. Feels good. Just a wee bit of resistance there. We're done. Start it up, let's ride. Alright, kidding, it's not ready to run quite yet, but I think I've got enough stuff done to check the compression, and that would be, well, I'm a little nervous about doing that. But I have to. It's not going to run if I don't have good compression. Everything's torqued down, new gaskets. Alright, I'm going to try the bad cylinder, my suspected cylinder first. Lay it over there for a second. Oh boy. That's not so good. 115. I think I'm supposed to have 170. All right. A little under 120 psi. That's nothing to brag about. I'll do this one and see what I got. What do we got? Woo! There's a lot. All right, 100 and... Wow. 175. That is spectacular. So we got one good cylinder. Maybe not the other one. $120. So probably a ring issue. But I'm still going to put it together and see if it'll run. And who knows, maybe if it's a stuck ring, you know, the way the valve stems were gummed up, maybe the ring will unstick itself if I run it for a bit, get it hot. That's why that back cylinder was carboned up. It should be puffing some oil. But let's put it back together and run it, and then this engine's going to have to come out, and I'm going to have to do probably piston rings on it. Alright, this has me really scratching my head. So the rear cylinder is low on compression, which doesn't surprise me because that exhaust valve was really carboned up, and the head was too somewhat. But I'm going to try running a little oil in the cylinder, do the compression test again. If the pressure comes up, then I'm, you know, fingers crossed, it's just a stuck piston ring, and I can maybe work with that over the next few days using seafoam in the cylinder, let it soak into those rings. I want to make sure the engine really isn't blown before I put any more money into it. I don't mind, you know, putting another $100 or $200 if I need to get some, you know, another gasket set and some piston rings. At least the push rods are working out. But what's going on with this thing that, say it's a broken ring? I'm getting 120 psi, supposed to have 170. So the other one's at 170, 175, so it's like 50 psi difference. That's way too much. But how did this happen and the push rods on the intake side bend? What's going on in this engine? Well, I'll still work on it. I'm going to drop a little oil in that cylinder, that rear cylinder, and see if the compression comes up. Oops. Alright, it's up to 135 now. So that's piston ring. I didn't put a ton of oil in there. Now, is the piston ring broken or is it stuck? So putting a little oil in brought it up 15 psi. Alright, while I got the oil can, I'm going to just drop a bunch of oil all over this valve train. Try to. Oh my god. Oil can! So the way I understand it, if compression doesn't come up very much using oil, then it's most likely the valves, and I would pull that head off and actually get the valves resurfaced properly. If it comes up, then it's more likely the rings. So I don't know, is coming up 15 psi considered much? Okay, here's what I decided to do. I have a strong suspicion that I have a broken ring, or I got a stuck ring, or stuck rings. Now, what's kind of leaning me towards stuck rings is the fact I had 2 stuck valves. So what's that got to do with anything? The valves have nothing, you know, they're totally different part of the engine. They're not exposed to all the same things as the pistons are. The cylinder walls were in good shape, first of all, so I don't think that any scoring of metal, you know, forced the rings shut. But the fact that both intake valves were stuck, I'm kind of leaning towards the thing was sitting for a long time, maybe even years. It was just sitting without running, and things gummed up. So I might as well put it back together, make sure it runs. If it does, it's probably not going to run too good. It's probably going to smoke, you know, blue smoke out the one cylinder. And if it is a broken ring, or if they're just worn out, or there's some issue with the piston rings, obviously the engine's coming out, it's going on the bench, and I'll do a full teardown. But before I do that, you know, remember, this was sold as a blown engine, so if it runs, it's not blown. I consider a blown engine a cracked block, something like that, broken crankshaft, something really serious. But rather than try any of the secret potions that you can buy to free up a stuck ring, I'm going to drop a whole whack of white vinegar down the spark plug hole and just let it soak. And, you know, I'll turn it by hand first and then spin it over, and then put some more in and just let it soak for days. And then I'm going to come back and you know, spin it over with the spark plugs out, make sure I get all the fluid out, and I'm going to try the compression test again, because I'm just curious to know if white vinegar will free those up. I mean, it's a really good cleaning agent. It dissolves a lot of things, and if it does nothing, or if it wrecks everything, then you'll know not to do that, and so will I ever do that again. But that's what I'm going to do. And then of course, if it does free it up and I got compression in that back cylinder again, you know, flushing all the oil out, putting new oil in, and I'm good to go. And we've all learned something about white vinegar. Interesting. Oh, you know what? Yeah. So there has been pressure in the crankcase blowing oil up into the intake manifold. And that's what this oil residue is. So, oh yeah, I bet you it was puffing some blue smoke. And it's gonna, I mean, nothing I've done so far is gonna prevent that again. So it's gonna happen again. So once I see that it actually runs, then I'm going straight to the spark plug hole and I'm dropping vinegar in it, and I'm gonna let it soak for days. And I'm just gonna keep trying that. If it just simply doesn't work, then the engine's gonna have to come out, but at least it's fixable. And I have the facility here to lift that up on a chain, so might be a neat project. So either way, I'm good. All right, the bottom tray is nice and clean. Kind of forget how it goes. Oh, I see different things. I could look back at my video, but that's no fun. I might have to look back because I don't really remember all this stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to look back. I think I'll go clean this arm up though. Carburetor looks nice and clean. I made a new gasket, so that's alright. Oh, okay, so you hear a piece of metal hit the ground and then it's not there. What? Found it. Alright, hopefully you can see this, but there is a wire on this, what do you call it, a solenoid, I guess, on the carburetor, that's clearly just broken off. So I'm going to look into that, because maybe that's my yellow wire issue, or one of the other wires that's not connected to anything. What's that do? I think when you shut it off, it closes off the throttle right, or it closes off the flow of gas right away, so there's no backfiring and stuff. So, I mean, I can deal with that after. My priority is to start it. What do you call this, a standpipe or something? Okay, it's pretty tight. And drop the hose on there. So I know what you're thinking. Why not just take the engine out right in the beginning? Why not do a compression test and pull it out and tear it all apart, rebuild it like everybody else does? Yeah, I maybe should have. But don't worry, I don't mind doing things over and over again. I mean, I tore that tractor apart into 2 pieces 3 times just to change the clutch. So if this doesn't work, I'll tear it all apart again. It's a hobby. You're supposed to enjoy doing this stuff. All right, now what? Okay, so I've cranked on this standpipe again that the hose hooks onto, and the radiator bracket is on in place. Worth noting that you have to put the bracket on first, or at least loose, and then put this on. Ask me how I know. So anyway, it came back off, put that on again, and now we're just tightening things up again. All right, rad hose. Why? Oh, why? So putting it on my workbench was a good idea. Why? I've decided this is the best spot for it. Yeah, that's fine. All right, this little guy can go on here. I'm wondering, is that to hold linkage for the carburetor? Alright, now it's coming back together again. Okay, I got a handful of hardware, and there's a great big hole in the engine waiting to swallow something up. So in goes the cloth again for a minute while I put a spacer in under this plate, run the bolt down through it, and then ow! Oh right, I hurt my arm. I know. Not really. I know you've done this before and you're just screaming at the TV. No, the carb goes on first, but you've done this before. I haven't. I'm going to put the gasket on first. I'm just test fitting to see if I understand where everything goes. Alright, I'm going to get a little bit of high tack on my gasket that I made and slide that on. Alright, I'll wait a second for it to tack up. Kind of gets like a half dry haze to it when it's ready. When it's all wet and watery looking, it's not going to do anything. Carburetor. What do I do with that? Oh, it's right here. So I have to get the spring in this hole and the linkage. So let's get the spring in there first. Oops. Maybe? There. I did it. You can see how the spring is hooked under here through the hole, and so is the linkage now. Okay, let's drop this on in place. So I might have to do some kind of adjusting on this because I didn't really pay much attention when I took it off. There's a little flat on the head of this bolt that matches the arm. So we'll drop that in, washer on, and crank everything down to about 1,000 psi. Where's my impact gun? A little snug without snapping it off. If you do snap it off, just back it off a little bit and you're good. Alright, now I understand what's going on here. So that's going to brum, brum. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. There's a spring under here I forgot about. I remember it now. But so I know it hooked on here. I don't know what that spring was hooked on to. Okay, so when you pull the throttle, this moves. There must be a spring hooked to that. Aha, there's a hole under it. So, it's in from the top. Then, that would hook on to the governor rod. Yeah, but now this one came out and I don't know what it does. Okay, so when I took this apart, I mustn't have paid any attention to how that spring went, but now I see on this little diagram that you're not going to make heads or tails of, I'm sure. Not in a quick glance, anyway. If I look at this plate, I bet you anything it goes this way. Oh boy. Alright, I got to go back and figure out what this spring does. Alright, there is no way ever that I would have figured that out if I didn't go look at the computer. And get a shot of it. Oh yeah, okay. So, in order to get this linkage on, I might have to I can't get this in. I gotta take the carburetor off. Remember I said I don't mind redoing things over and over again. It's fun. It's sometimes not, like this time. Probably just need to lift it high enough to get over this pulley, this fan belt pulley. Here we go. Back down you go. Now I can turn this. There we go. I'm sure, there it goes. Alright, so that's why that little notch was on this rod here, so that when you mount it here, that notch sits against this plate and won't turn. Yeah, I never would have figured that out in a million years. Thank God I film everything. Even the instructions don't show it that way. But that's how it was. No, now I can't find it. There we go. Put the fuel line on it. Okay, plunk this in. Okay, we're good. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, with bad piston rings in one cylinder, it's going to create a lot of pressure inside the engine, and it's going to push out the positive crankcase ventilation system, and so the pressure of the combustion of the cylinder is pushing air down into the crankcase, which is going to force oil up into that pipe, and it actually comes up here. This is supposed to be just reburning, kind of like the dirty old gases down inside the engine, but instead oil's going to get up in there and start splashing out all in here, and it eventually even goes down inside the carburetor and hits the, hey, guess what, the intake valves. Again, maybe that's why they gummed up. Yeah, I never thought of that. So maybe bad oil or overheated oil, whatever, is getting back in through into the intake, getting on the intake valves that way. There's a good chance that if I clean out that cylinder, I'll get compression back. I wouldn't bet a ton of money on it, but it's possible. Alright, I should put the exhaust pipe on. Rather than make new gaskets, I'm just going to use the old ones. I don't think I could make like proper gaskets. These are steel gaskets, so I'd imagine this plate went on first. No, would it? Yeah, no. And let's plunk this in. I don't know how or why. I think it goes this way. We're ready to roll. There's no gas in it. I don't think. So I'm going to pop this off and just use a little quick start just to see if it pops off. I've got the rocker covers off, so I'm pretty sure I'll see vapors coming up out of the bottom. In fact, we might see oil splashing out of there. Oh, I never thought of that. You know what? I'm going to put the rocker boxes on actually, because maybe oil does splash up, and maybe that's what lubricates everything up here. So I don't want it pouring out all over the place. Dun dun dun. Okay, I'm assuming that throttle's going to open when I twist it, but I don't think I can see. Oh, I can, and it does. Woo. Let's get some antifreeze in there. Oh yeah. You don't need a funnel. Uh-oh. Zip ties and bias plies are going to be mad at me copying them. Nobody can copy zip ties. One unique YouTuber. I should probably pick up some of these tools. Okay. What am I forgetting? Probably should have maybe checked for spark too, but who has time to check stuff? Nobody. That's who doesn't. Alright, let's give it a little bit of spray and quit goofing around here. Let's just go for it. That'll do. I heard it fired. Ooh, that almost idled. I'm almost thinking about putting a little gas down it instead of the quick start. That's just a dribble. Okay, that was running. pulled the choke out, and the only thing that's holding it in is this little screw. So that is a bad thing. Probably not factory, I'm hoping. All right, I suspect somebody put this in. Probably the original choke knob got broken off. No, that's not working. I don't know what to do. I got no choke. It's running. That's running. That's a running engine. All right, it's leaking. I mean, the exhaust manifold is just not even close to being attached to the muffler. So it sounds like garbage, but was that 2 cylinders? How do you know? Let's feel both pipes. There's some heat. Oh, the rear cylinder is dead cold, so that was only running on 1 cylinder. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough compression in that back cylinder to fire it. Well, should I just move right on to my experiment and use vinegar? I think it's time to pull the plugs again and see if I'm getting spark on that rear cylinder. All right. Lots of spark on that one. It's kind of cool to hear it fire and run. That's that's not a blown motor. That's just a motor with bad piston rings, I think. So 2 solutions: pull the motor, tear it apart, new rings, check the cylinder bore, maybe it will hone for sure, but possibly a bore and an oversized piston and rings. But hey, sounds like a fun thing to do in the winter time in Ontario, Canada, so I will. Alright, so this is going to be like a pretty super long video, so I got to chop it up. You heard it fire. I know you want to see me just running out the door and do donuts in the driveway and stuff, but it's a work in progress. I have a job, I have to go earn money, and I think this video is plenty long enough at this point. Hang on. I need a haircut. So before I screw something up, I'm just going to stop there, and next time, so it'll be number 3, I'm going to button up this exhaust, I'm going to get the fuel system working, and then I can run it regular, like I can run it, and if I can't get that rear cylinder to loosen up, well, I'm going to pour vinegar down that hole, and I'm going to soak it for days, and maybe I should just do that now. Happen to have white vinegar on the shelf. Was there any doubt? Alright, let's get that plug out of the back and get a little vinegar in. I'm going to let it soak for a few days. And then I'll spin it over by hand, make sure it doesn't hydraulic. And fingers crossed we can get these piston rings freed up. And then leave it sit. Okay. Alright, that's going to soak for a few days. Alright, if this vinegar works, I'm like internet stardom here. But if it doesn't, don't share this video. I don't know, it's kind of making me hungry. I kind of feel like fish and chips tonight. Stupid hair. I didn't see anything blow out the exhaust pipe as far as antifreeze. Get into the nitty gritty of this. Obviously I have spark, I have fuel, and I have throttle control, and my ignition system works. I can't even believe it. When I got this, I put a battery on it and nothing. I would turn the key and nothing. But obviously the starter switch was just probably corroded. Like, it seems like that's the problem with the whole thing. Maybe it just sat for a long time and everything is just sort of frosted over. So the more I work that key, the better things got, and now it works perfectly just like new. So with any luck, you'll come back for number 3. I mean, you've gone this far. You've done number 1 and number 2. You might as well figure out what happens here. And then when you get yourself an old machine like this off Marketplace with a blown motor, then maybe you'll do something I didn't, or maybe you'll do something I did. Either way, yeehaw. For now, from Ontario, cheers.